Hi, my name is Sean, but likely if you're here, you already know that. I'm a folk earth witch that practices an ancestrally informed magic, and I'm slowly moving toward my reconnection journey. I approach my magical practice from a diasporic perspective, and I'm currently aligning my work that I do with my Irish American heritage. So my practice is always evolving. I have notes. My practice is so incredibly different from how it was a year ago, and I have to say that once I started on my reconnection journey and started really focusing and frontlining authenticity and me in my practice and who I am, it never felt more right. I live rurally. If you've watched my other videos, you'll have put that together by now. The land that I live on has actually housed my family since they came over and emigrated from Europe. So it's very, very special to me. I do live in North America on Turtle Island, Lenni Lenape territory to be specific. And I'm so incredibly grateful to be here, to be living here, to be able to connect deeply with the land that I currently live on. It just informs so much of my practice. It informs the tools that I use, the items, the ingredients that I work into my spells, and the spells themselves that I do. So I really want to get deeper into that in this video. I want to show you some of the really standard spells that are part of my toolkit and my standard rotation, but also some of the spells that I've developed out of need that I haven't shared with the witchcraft community or my own community before. So grab yourself a drink or a snack. I am drinking Yin Hao Jasmine from Harney & Sons. This is going to be a chattier type of video because I really want to get down to the basics of how I work. Obviously, I won't be showing and telling everything. That would defeat the purpose of the magic. But I hope seeing in real time the way that I construct my spells will help you along your path. Okay, I have my notes, so let's get started. All right, so I want to start with the most important work that I do, in my opinion, protection magic. Protection magic is intrinsic to the work that I do as a witch. In my opinion, when I or any kind of magical worker is doing this deep and heavy energy work, it's something that can be picked up or intuitively sensed on an energetic level. It's like a fish tugging on a line. It's like a feeling, a shift in the air. Energetic transfer is something that we and others that do the work and that know what to look for can pick up on, human or not. At least that's just my opinion. I know the importance of energetic shielding. I have a pretty routine candle ward that I like to do as a standard in my toolkit. This usually consists of a black beeswax candle. Black in color theory is used to cloak me in shadow, privacy, protection, shielding me, a bubble around me. And beeswax, which is representative of natural earth magic, it is connection with the land from which I ground my magic wholly and deeply. Bees are very important in my folk world for a variety of reasons. They carry messages in the myths. They are harbingers of fertility. Think about the fact that they bring pollen back to their hives, go from flower to flower. They're guardians, and they know how to put up a strong line of defense and offense. Anyone who has ever been attacked by bees will know this. So I use a black beeswax candle to ground the spell. I use candles a lot in my practice to ignite the energy of my magic, and especially too, that fire is very important in the heritage of my people. So bada bing, bada boom, really. Candles hold so much weight for me in witchcraft, and who doesn't love them? For those of you who can't light candles, I see you, I get it, but the love is there, right? So I like to take a pretty 1, 2, 3 approach to the complexity of the ritual. Carving, oiling, petitioning as just a standard rotation. And you'll see that as we get through the different types of spells I'm going to cover today, you will see that rotation being used a lot because it works. It is very mindful, very meditative too. I'm straightforward in my magic and I get a straightforward result. Power recognizes power. So I carve a lot of sigils. And I draw a lot of sigils. That's pretty standard in my witchcraft practice. They all come from up here. And I do use ogham. Ogham is an ancient Irish style of writing. And I also use runes and also some words in the native languages of my ancestors. Sigil work is really a cornerstone of my practice, and like I said, they're all made intuitively. I do reuse them as a way to continuously charge them, and I do rework them occasionally as well. Like sometimes I'll have multiple sigils on one topic or one concept if I feel that it's necessary. And sometimes I just want to change it up because something doesn't feel exactly right from one sigil to the next. But I noticed that when I started using them regularly and really started to put a lot of reliance on them in the ritual, that I started seeing results. And that's a way that my practice has developed a lot and rapidly over the years, is because I will trial something and I'll see it work and I'll see it work again. So it becomes part of the standard rotation and it falls into place so nicely. Next to sigils are petitions. Long or short petitions written on pieces of paper that I will use as a one-off, recharge, burn, or rotate. You'll see that later. When a petition is fulfilled for me, either energetically or by spirit, blankly fulfilled, I will usually keep it as a positive energetic charm to add to another working of the same topic or same principle. I will continue to use, for example, we're talking about protection. I will continue to use a protection petition or a sigil and just kind of pile them either under the candle, and when that becomes a little dangerous, I will put them around the candle in its vessel. It's like building a shield. It's like building a wall. You will, like I said, you'll see this later for particularly the financial magic bit, so stay tuned for that. I will often include sigils in petitions, but without a doubt, I'm including oils. Oils carry magic so expertly for me. I've always had such incredible success with them, and that's not just because I'm an oil maker myself, but truly they're a carrier of herbal magics, of enchantments. So lush, so perfect. My favorites on standard rotation are currently my Spirits Oil, Black-Eyed Dog from Lunar Leos, which is our Banishing and Protection Oil, always available in the shop. And I will throw a few others in here and there. You will see that when I feel that it's necessary, but those two are like the perfect combo for me and have been honestly for about a year. I use such heavy oiling, especially in my protection work, because I'm not fucking around. You know what I mean? But in all seriousness, I want to clear away the junk with flames. So anything standing in my way will incinerate. I really do find that a more aggressive approach and a more consistent approach in my protection magic really does work wonders for me. Okay, so for me, the standards of protection doesn't end with candles, right? With that standard candle protection spell. I also wear amulets that I hand enchant almost every day. And always when I'm leaving my home or interacting with others, always gonna wear some kind of enchanted amulet. This particular piece that I'm working on right now is a piece of Slavic amber on a bracelet. I really gravitate to anything that I can see my spirit allies in. A very important matriarch spirit that I work with is my great-grandmother, who actually emigrated here to this land from Slovakia. She's one of the strongest women I have ever adjacently known. She unfortunately died before I was born, but she's one of the strongest people in my life, in the life of my family, and she's a true leader. She was the matriarch of this family. I feel her presence every time I put on this amber. I was also able to invite the spirits of the other side of my family, who are now coming in very strong at this point in my reconnection journey, through the use of juniper. Once I began working very heavily with juniper, it was like unlocking a door, honestly. It's a very, very important plant in Ireland, and there's also a very treasured juniper tree that grows on my property. Juniper virginiana. So that is American juniper. And as I said before, this land was a land that my great-grandmother spent many, many years of her life working. Everything that I do, I really try to tie it back to my roots, and that for me makes it individual to me. It makes it aligned with me in my blood. I approach many of my enchantments this way, through the roots of my family tree. Salt of the earth to connect us all. Sigils of union, protection, and community. Juniper from my tree ally out back. Rowan from the land that my other grandmother came from, where her family came from, and a Bridget's cross for my Irish ancestors. All of these items harken back to what makes me me. My individuality has always been so important to me. It is something that no one can take or replicate. But it's not only important to me to maintain that individuality in my witchcraft space, it's also important to me to integrate ancestral emblems like herbs, symbols, tools, all things that can be used to celebrate the community within which I'm working and the community from which I came. Specifically, these enchanted crosses are hanging words, but they are also a reminder of all those who came before me and all those who continue to stand at my back. This is the power of community. Now, as I said before, I like to look at protection magic as defensive, offensive, and sometimes both. This spell is a variation of a banish and clearing. Think of those stacked black and white, like 7-day candles you'll get at a Botanica or a grocery store. I would say that this is return to sender adjacent, so it can be effective to direct at a specific person or used as an energetic cleanse in general. It's great to do at the beginning of a year or the beginning of a season. As a folk witch, I'm going to use what I have instead of leaving my house. If you don't know, the joke is that I'm a hermit and I never leave my house. But leaving my house to buy a new candle. So instead I found 2 candles, a white candle and a black candle. White to clear, black to banish. I always like to draw on earth magic, so I use 2 great herbal allies, hyssop and olive for banishing and peace. Essentially, it's a so long, see ya, if you're out for someone, it ain't gonna be me spell. I'm in my 30s. My main concern now is protecting my peace. I know y'all in your 30s and 40s and probably 50s are going to understand that, because this is the decade of I don't care who likes me anymore. For the spell, I chose to work Ogham into it. I really like Ogham. I really like Ogham because I can take my time spelling something out in a way that sometimes sigils just don't always hit. As I said before, Ogham is an ancient Irish writing style that is also known as the language of trees, because some of the characters in Ogham were used to describe trees. I'm not sure if that was the original language constructor's plan or not, but that just seems to be how it developed. So being that it is technically an ancient language of my ancestors, it feels activated in my blood. And suspend your disbelief for a minute. When I started using Ogham, I felt like a fire lit inside of me. And I've been feeling that lately with some new connections that I'm making with spirits. Walking down this path of Irish American heritage through witchcraft is something that just feels so right. And I understand it. I understand it from a basic level because I grew up in an Irish American community. At least I think that's why. I also feel my ancestors so strongly because I worked for their attention. I worked for their help. I proved it to them, and I'm really feeling them coming strong now. So when I use this language of Ogham in my witchcraft, I really feel connected, locked in, aligned. So depending on the length of your candle that you use, if you want to use the Ogham style, the longer the better. That's what she said. The longer the better, because it is a vertical language. So depending on how long your word is, it's going to be a lot of Ogham. And I am no expert on Ogham. I've recently only just started using it. There is an Ogham Academy, if you would like to learn more about it, by Laura O'Brien. It has a website and everything. It's also part of the Irish Pagan School if you're interested in taking a few classes on it, so please head over there. I'm not an expert. Oils for every occasion, and beyond the 2 I've already mentioned, I'm also using my custom spirit of juniper infused oil to work more directly with the spirit of the plant. Also, please look at this gorgeous, absolutely stunning mug. I forgot what the word is for a minute. Oh my god. It has my little fox ally on it. Okay, back to work. So I'm also using Keykeeper from Lunar Leos, which is our road opening Hecatean oil. Hecate is a deity that I revere, that I love, is also known for inspiring fear in others throughout the ancient world. So I thought her influence was apt to tap into here. Essentially to open the road, clear obstacles in my path. Because I used 2 candles, I tied them together with natural twine to essentially bind them together as 2 intentions made one. This way they burn together instead of one before the other. So they're clearing and banishing essentially in tandem. I'm nothing if not aggressive in my approach, again, and energetically kicking ass. Okay, now for a few protection adjacent spells. Up first, my Tripwire Spell. I have not seen this spell anywhere, and I've looked. This spell is designed to effectively trip a wire, to tip me off in an intentional and specific way if anyone is trying to do me dirty. I designed this spell with any sort of negativity in mind. And we all know how the evil eye works, right? You can just throw it and not know it. So even if you're not a witch and you're trying me, not today, but I will know about it. How I then deduce what exactly is happening after this wire is tripped is beyond the scope of this section. But the point here is that I've essentially set up a trap for anyone messing with me. So for this spell, I tapped into animal allyship with the stag, regal, king of the woods, and a rare sight on my property. You may not see the stag, but he sees you. And the reason I know this is because I've seen evidence of bucks without actually seeing them. So I used my hand-forged deer bone, it was a deer leg bone, to anchor this spell. And I'm asking my deer, my watchers, to do what they do best. Deer have a great sense of danger, to the point where they are often overcautious. They know just how far to push their luck before it expires. Which is why I feel like we have recurring locals that we see every year. They're smart. So the point here is that I am petitioning this animal ally to watch my back so I can take out the trash, if you feel me. I also integrated protective plant allies into this spell, rowan and juniper specifically, as I grow my relationship with them. I hope I don't just sound mean. I started this video off so mean. I'm not mean, I just watch my own back. This spell was no joke. I say that because I literally saw evidence of it days later. I saw it working in real time. After never seeing evidence of a stag, and a big stag, big well-established stag on this land, not even a week later, one walks right up in front of me and looks me dead in the face. You'll see it. I knew I had some work to do after that. This spell is going to be like most of my work. It's going to be evolving. So there is a trap set into this spell. I'm not going to discuss that, but I might make that even stickier, more aggressive, more irritating as time goes on. So stay tuned. Maybe I'll talk about it. And last, but certainly not least, a love protection spell. I do feel a need in this day and age, and quite recently, to safeguard my own relationship from protection and harm. That can come in literally any form. I'm using a lot of red here. Red is a very powerful color. It's not only associated with passion, but it's also associated with protection and aggression. In my heritage-inspired path, that would be the fire of Saint Bridget, or the goddess Bridget's flame. That would be the red mouth or the red hands of Anne Morrigan. I used a great lover's candle from Dolly Moo. It smelled amazing, and I do love an anatomical candle. What could I do to get you to never do that again? She says to herself, alone in her library. Arrested Development. So around the anatomical candle, I wove some red thread around a wreath as sort of a barrier, physical barrier, to protect us from the rest of the world. You could also use salt, things like that. It is a natural wreath, so I felt that it was semi-synonymous with salt. And I also did that with fire. I liked Black Eye Dog, Fire Breath, and Handfast ritual oil for this specific working, all from Lunar Leos. Handfast is actually a ritual oil that is based on a custom oil I made for my wedding, which took place in Scotland last year. So it is a very special addition to this specific spell. This is essentially a mess with my kind and patient husband and watch me ignite working. And vice versa, you know? It's great for relationships where you're the hothead and they're the logic. And then the next day he gave me some beautiful flowers, so I guess it worked. Ooh, I forgot about this. A little unboxing interlude here for your viewing pleasure. Just for funsies, not an ad, just for funsies. So this package is from a small business called Moth and Candle. And I couldn't tell you how fast I ran to their shop after seeing a few of their pieces. This one is specifically a new moon candle created under the influences of the Aquarian new moon. So you'll see that being used in a bit. Then we have Fortitude, Hope, and Prairie Prayer. Okay. Are you seeing how gorgeous these are? I believe the prairie one also contains a buffalo tooth. And everyone knows how fond of animal parts that I am. So this was a must-have. Overall, absolutely stunning work from this maker, and I cannot wait to order again. Immediately, I had to use the new moon candle in my full moon work. Very poignant, because this candle was crafted during the new moon, and I was using it on the full moon, and it was crafted in the sister sign of Leo. And that was the sign that the full moon was sitting in as we did this ritual. So very cool, full circle alignment there. I crafted a full moon wreath out of bogrush, which is what I use to make bridges crosses. So a little honoring of the winter cycle, if you will. And of course I used Ogrim writing on the candle to support the purpose of this working. I don't usually do moon magic, I have to admit. I don't usually just align my spells with certain cycles like that, and I usually just wave as the opportunity passes me by for really strong energy during a certain lunation or lunar event. And I'm gonna try and be better. I'm trying to be better. But I have to say that when my schedule and Mother Moon's schedule finally did line up for witchcraft, it really felt supercharged. I was able to draw that energy down into that candle, and it was fantastic. So yeah, I recommend when it's feasible for you, align your spells with lunar cycles, depending on what the purpose of the working is, or if you want to approach planetary days of the week, things like that. I'm trying to be better. It's just that my magic, my methods are a lot of do it when I need it. So oftentimes I don't find myself like going, okay, well, I'm going to do this on this day, but there's nothing wrong with that. It could always help. So we'll try and be better together. We'll try and motivate each other. How about that? And finally, last but certainly not least, abundance magic, financial magic, money magic, whatever you want to call it. I have to say, I do enjoy a money bowl. Gotta be basic sometimes. But no, this is anything but basic, and let me tell you why. But it's a really great vessel for the standard money candle that I prep and work with my local spirits. So in this vein, I take a very specific approach to a money bowl. So not only over the past year have I really tried to ground the tools and ingredients that I use within the ancestral lens I'm approaching my magic with, but I've decided to only use seasonal ingredients in my money bowls going forward. So think about it. Why wouldn't we use what is abundant in the season, in the region that we're in, to symbolize abundance? And if that means use snow, you know? So starting with winter, my ancestors would have been eating a lot of dried grains that would have been harvested in the summertime during the winter. I use barley to honor my Irish heritage and my Irish spirits, which we also happen to have an abundance of. We always have barley on hand, which I don't think is a coincidence. Many folks use rice to symbolize abundance, and that's great. But in my heritage, barley would have been our rice. It was a cash crop in Ireland around the time of my family's immigration, and before that. So it quite literally symbolizes money. Barley in Ireland, we can't ignore the obvious, also symbolizes resistance. So I love the idea of working a resiliency angle into my financial magic. this isn't just a get-rich-quick spell for me. It's a long-term investment into my future. It's a way I can support and sustain my family and help keep a roof over our heads in these strange and uncertain times. We all need money to live, some more than others. So for me, this spell is a spell to withstand and outlast. So other items I include are ancestral money, starting with American money, USD, we are American, but also Irish money and euros for the folks that immigrated and brought us here. I have not yet found like Slovakian money or German money from the time that my family left those areas, but maybe I will when I visit those countries, who knows? You bet your ass that I will be adding it to my money bowl. So things also from the actual land. Deer bones. Deer symbolize abundance for me here. We have them in abundance. Catmint, which grows out of control here. Moss, because nothing that I do cannot contain moss. But seriously, it covers everything here because of the humidity, so abundance. Old petitions that were successful. See, I told you that would come up again. Your treat for sticking around. Oils, naturally, you know the drill. Not only my Lunar Leo standard rotation, but also money magnet from my friend Alexa at the Brewhouse Tomb. Shout out. And another seasonal spiritual ally and ancestral ally, mistletoe. It's a very important plant in Irish mythology. It's sacred. It's a sacred plant, and it symbolizes protection and fertility. So exactly the energy I want in this bowl. Later on, I added some fallen pine needles from our tree, and it just was perfect. It fell into place. As I lit this candle to burn, I did notice something strange fly into the wick. Did you see that there? Yeah, that's cool, isn't it? Could it be an ancestor? Could it be a spirit? Could it be a fungus gnat? Who knows? More power to the working. And that is it. If you made it to this point, thank you. Thank you so much. Drop a comment on this video if there's something specific you'd like to see from me in the future, especially if you like this chattier sip and yap style video. I'd love to hear that. And also, if you hated it, let me know. Be nice. Just please feedback. But send our kindness, friends. Stay true to yourself and to your magic. And no matter what anyone says, be you. May the gods go with you. Slangafol.